Mabusuafo mechiachi obi asa ma obi bia kwa babiem de ba eye odene ho TV odene ho kase boso na adro susisia megidi se oba de environment obi bia ho ya ha de de update ni trending news nkwan ya de sumi viewers ni ya hwefo mu tie o YouTube channel no meso se obe subscribe this channel no wa like obe share so ama obi bia omo nsanka video so nsanka video na so omo so ehun de ekoso wo oman Ghana mu ase na mensem mekwane bebo ewura enensem ntentem ya na abusuafo ensema trend de esewani ense okache mekọ akọbọ audio no after this video me the audio no beto ase na chese watie de ekoso o man Ghana mu ase na mekọ ame ho adwumi mempese meka nsem bebre afa ensema ekoso o man Ghana mu ase ne bekọ akotie audio no mu nsempa na abusuafo ho bedwiri te se de me ho adwiri mu bekọ akotie abasisi ya ekotie ba de ho bia beka ato aso me de obi bia asese otie ode no.
In cases involving the OSP and stating the position of the office on the opinion in question as to whether the opinion progresses the fight against corruption or inhibits the fight against corruption. This policy is as novel as the office itself, and much like every aspect and operation of this office, the policy has generated public debate on its propriety or otherwise. Those who applaud this policy of transparency see it for what it is: public information and assurances of the position of the office on the fight against corruption, and nothing more. Those who decry it see it as an attack on the judiciary. Indeed, I have had several calls from well-meaning lawyers admonishing me that they have heard talk that our friends who have been elevated to the bench and presiding over cases in court do not take very kindly to criticism, especially of the public calling out variety as we do. And that if the office persists in the media releases, the judges will gang up against the office and throw out all our cases. Mind you, members of the press, the collective admonition is from very senior and experienced lawyers who are men and women of the world. Members of the press, my learning of the law for the past 25 years in 3 different jurisdictions, my teaching and training of lawyers and law students for the past 17 years, my 20-year record at the bar, all bear testimony that I will be the last person to head and lead an institution to attack the judiciary. It will be absolutely of no good and utility should it be the case that the OSP is set against the judiciary, or that the judiciary is against the OSP. That will surely spell disastrous consequences for this republic, especially in the fight against corruption, to the unending glee of corrupt persons. The OSP will not countenance for a moment such an impression. What we do is a statement of our position on judicial pronouncements in the context of the fight against corruption and whether it benefits the quest against corruption or otherwise. And this is so whether the judicial decision in question is favorable to the OSP or not. And to the well-meaning lawyers who call to admonish me, I always assure them that I do not believe that our judges see themselves as above criticism. Indeed, I vividly recollect when years ago, as a private practitioner, a justice of the Supreme Court softly chastised me in open court that I was not churning out enough published articles in critique of their work, because I was a lecturer at the University of Ghana. The judge added that criticism of judicial pronouncements was essential in guiding judges, and he fondly recollected the regular publications of old in the University of Ghana Law Journal and the Review of Ghana Law. I reckoned the judge's observation with admiration. Collectively with the well-meaning lawyers who admonish me, we philosophize and wonder if our judges would do such a thing has ganged up against the flagship public anti-corruption agency to scuttle its work for whatever reason. Our musings ran along the lines of, would that not defeat the fight against corruption? Would that not put our young democracy in danger? Will the judges not stultify themselves in the process? We always end with an open-ended sigh, sometimes a sigh of relief, sometimes a sigh of concern, that may that never be the case. And personally, I do not believe that our judges will ever adopt such a dystopian stance. However, members of the press, there appears to be a developing trend of rather regressive and dismissive judicial decisions in respect of cases involving the OSP, with troubling consequences. And it seems to us that a careful examination of these outcomes portends a disturbing specter that the fight against corruption is being hampered to the disbenefit of us all. And I do not say these things lightly. 4 instances will suffice. In one case, the OSP applied to the High Court for a confirmation of a freezing order in respect of a deceased person's estate. The judge refused to confirm the order by, in effect, holding that the OSP had come too late since the person of interest had died, and that his death had extinguished the inquiry commenced after the occurrence of death. We publicly commented on this outcome, and the danger of this outcome is obvious, members of the press. It is to the effect that a person may, in his lifetime, acquire property through corruption, and then upon his demise, happily pass on the corruptly acquired property to his estate, and by so doing, extinguish all scrutiny as to the propriety or otherwise of the acquisition of the property, because his corrupt activities were not discovered during his lifetime. In the second instance, the OSP had declared as wanted a person it believed to be a fugitive from justice. The person, through his lawyer, proceeded to the Human Rights Court on an ex parte application, and the judge, without even an inquiry as to why the OSP believed him to be a fugitive from justice, issued an injunction that the OSP should not arrest the person for a period of 10 days. Members of the press, this is dangerous. It encourages criminal suspects to go before the courts to seek injunction orders against law enforcement agencies from apprehending them. The judge did not advert his mind to the well-founded proposition that no one has the right not to be arrested, and he accorded the suspect a right not to be arrested. In the third instance, the OSP applied to the High Court for a confirmation of a seizure order and a freezing order in respect of a person who had just resigned from a ministerial position and had reported that large cash sums in foreign denominations had been stolen from her residence. In addition, the OSP subsequently discovered additional large cash sums in foreign denominations and cedis still stashed in her residence. The judge hastily dismissed the OSP's application and ordered a return of the seized amounts and the defreezing of her property, and he proceeded to lash out at the OSP for not doing a thorough investigation, without the slightest consideration that the seizure and freezing orders are designed by law to facilitate investigation into the affairs of suspects, and not the other way around, of requiring thorough investigations before the OSP can seize or freeze. The judge also completely ignored the fact that in almost every jurisdiction, including Ghana, it is extremely unusual and highly suspicious for a public officer to have such large cash sums stashed in their homes, and that the circumstances of the case dictated pause and reflection